Food is more than just what's on our plate. It's the places where it's grown, it's the people who grow it, and so much more. Join me, Janice Person, your host, on Grounded by the Farm every other week as we talk about the foods we love. I am back in North Carolina, and all of you know that's one of my favorite places. I have lots of family here, and I love a good excuse to visit. This time, as I was visiting, I decided to come over to the Raleigh-Durham area, and I had to see my friend Kamal Bell. I've tried to see him before, and he's always busy. So I drove out to the farm. I thought he was in Durham, but it's really a town that's about a third of the way towards Greensboro, I guess, and it's called Cedar Grove. So this is a pretty small town, Kamal.
Yeah, it's the middle of nowhere. Basically. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's like off the map almost.
And as I started driving up, I'm like, well, I know I'm in the right place because I saw all the hoop houses, which are popular on your Instagram and stuff. So I know I'm in the right place.
Yep, you are.
So right now, what all do you have going on the farm? And I ask that because when I look at what you're doing, all kinds of vegetables, and I know you always working them bees.
Yep. So at the farm, like you said, we have 7 caterpillar tunnels. They're 14 feet by 100 feet long. And then we also have a 30 by 72 foot high tunnel, which is where we're recording now. And then we have 2 climate controlled greenhouses that will be 14 by 45 feet that I'll be going up this winter. As far as what we grow a wide range of stuff. I just tell people to keep it simple. We do everything but garlic and onions. So we do tomatoes, jalapeno peppers, cayenne peppers, bell peppers, celery, lettuce mixes, kale, chard, hackerot turnips, collard greens, honeybees, of course, and carrots. So I think that's everything.
Lots of different vegetables. And you've got about an acre undercover. Is that right?
Yep, we have about an acre undercover. The whole property is 12 acres, but we have 5 open that's cleared that's actually farmable, and the rest will be clearing as we develop the farm model. Yeah.
So you are an odd individual. I hope you don't mind me calling you that, but I'm going to just say it where
I've been getting it my whole life.
So I don't think there are a lot of young black men who just went, ooh, I'm going to start a farm.
Yeah. I don't think they're me.
It seems a little bit like, did you have any family that farmed?
So indirectly, I did, of course. But my grandfather on my mother's side, he farmed. And his mother, she had chickens growing up. My mom remembers those. On my father's side, my grandmother's father, they farmed. They grew up on a farm, but they sold their land and have like a small tracts now. But as far as like farming for profit intensively, no. My grandfather on my mother's side had a grocery store, and he slaughtered his own pigs. But as far as like anybody farming like for a living, nah. So I'm I guess like by definition, I'm a first generation farmer, but like not really by definition.
Well, I think in the South, a lot of us know our grandparents did certain things or our greats or, like there's all those connections, but a lot of us didn't have a chance to really learn it from them either. And that's why I think when you say a first generation farmer, it's a little different because how do you learn all the stuff you need to learn if your grandpa wasn't farming for a living and making money at it at a level where you could afford to do this pretty much full time?
Yeah. I think that's the story of a lot of people, just in the South in general. Yeah. That like grandparents did it, and it really wasn't for profit, but
especially in the black community. That's a real.
It's a whole different story. It's a whole different story in context of the black community. So I guess I want to see the data on how many black people started a farm from scratch, like through the FSA and the USDA. I think I'd probably be.
I think the numbers are going up, but I think in the Gen X and the Boomer category, we ain't seeing that.
Nah,
it was moving out of it.
Yeah, so I think I'll be an anomaly. So I would be essentially odd in that sense where I'm like just saying, hey, I'm gonna start a farm. So I think it's pretty much like a random story that you would hear.
So So let's talk about bees specifically, because you do a great job of explaining how bees work on the website pretty often on Instagram and stuff. How many hives do you have right now?
Woo, 30 something. I never really know. At the peak this year, I think we had 40, but right now we're consolidating down going into the winter.
Yeah.
So I think right now we have, I think 32.
Okay.
And we're headed into winter, so beekeeping season will be over in about a month.
Yeah.
So we're slowly combining hives together to give them a good chance to make it through the winter. But we actually got our start with bees through one of our students showing interest in our agricultural academy, and then what helped us scale it was Dick Rogers. He's the head beekeeper for North America at Bayer, and he gave us this thing called the Healthy Colony Checklist, and that helps us like understand what the bees are doing. So it helps me use it helps me with my teaching of the bees.
So you got it started because one of your students. We haven't explained what you're doing with Sankofa.
Oh yeah, we haven't got to that.
Maybe we should say, besides farming, one of the things is you really are trying to help people get those leadership skills. And how do you explain it?
So with the youth component, I looked at I'm a former teacher, and I wanted to create a program that worked on the whole student. So I think in the school system, you're teaching from a curriculum, and you're not really able to connect students to opportunities or anything outside of like what the curriculum says.
Or apply it in a way that maybe makes more sense for this child versus another.
Yeah, you can't really. There's no diversity in the education system, and really catering the curriculum to specific students. So what we did was we started to bring black males out here and work with them from a leadership standpoint, but also from a mentoring standpoint. We wanted to give them exposure to opportunities outside of farming in general, but also kind of spark that entrepreneurial bug in them if they had it in them.
Yep.
So we wanted to get them experience or get them exposure to STEM ideals. So we wanted to do a lot just to work on the whole student.
I love it.
Thank you.
There's so much going on in our school system right now. Everybody seems to have thoughts about it, but few people are taking the action that's helping make a difference.
Yep. And it's difficult. Like, it's hard, like, working with a student. Like, you really see, it's like having a baby at home. Like, we had a baby at home on my last one. And you see, like, what accommodations the hospital offers you when the baby's born there.
Yeah.
So then when you have the child at home, you see all the things that the hospital doesn't provide. So you get a different perspective of it. The same thing is with teaching. Like, the school system provides an umbrella, but in that, there are also things that are missing.
Yeah.
So when you bring the student out here, you're able to address certain things, but the resource aspect is really big too. So there's pros and there's cons, but I think having the students here long term and us developing a curriculum for them, I think will take this to the next level.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, well, let's go back to the bees, because I wanted to make sure I gave you a chance to explain that, because it is something that's very specific to what you're doing, and not everybody does it, so I love it. So, okay, so one of these students was really intrigued by bees, which I think is probably a pretty common thing today, and you decided we're going to start hives. And you got some help from a guy at Bayer, and you got some help from different people. So how long have you had them now?
I was looking at a video today. So this should be our 5th year beekeeping. It's our 4th year beekeeping, going into our 5th next year. And the student mentioned that it would help keep him more engaged if we got bees. So at the time, I didn't like them. The only thing I could think about is Candyman, and then how many times I got stung. And really, I got stung by yellow jackets. But you think all bees sting.
I had a man who was an expert in honeybees have to work on me over time to get me not to be afraid. So there's a few things you and I both have learned as people who don't like to be stung.
That part of it.
One of them is to get in the shade. If bees are bothering you, that makes a big difference.
It does.
I was surprised. Honeybees don't like the shade.
They love the sun. They love the sun.
They love the sun. And then if you have new plants around you, it's kind of like a dog has to check out new people that come in. If there's new plants around, it's going to make honeybees go, whoa, wait a minute. We got to come see what's going on over here.
It throws them off from there. They're like in an intense pattern. And if you distance of, they're really specific to distance and location of their hive. So anything new in the environment, they have to adjust to. It's just been a joy having them and being able to create an Airbnb around them. Bees in the Trap, have the students involved with them, form relationships with organizations. It's just been really good seeing that they spark so much interest within people. So
well, and it's great for the pollination. It's probably a lot easier to grow vegetables when you know you're going to have a lot of pollinators.
Yeah, the honeybees make their way into all the tunnels at some point. So they're definitely helping with pollination. I definitely see them on anything that's flowering. The honeybees are on it. So they definitely help in that avenue. So I enjoy them.
They checking it all out all the time. You said you were consolidating hives now. What is going on?
So I like to start with the winter. The bees are clustering in a ball, and the queen is only laying eggs on days with 55 degrees or warmer. So the colony is small, the numbers are low. But once the spring hits, their development is based on foraging the resource they can forage. Yeah. So if there's an abundance of pollen and nectar in the spring, they use that to build their colonies out. So their populations peak during that time. So after that, once we start heading to the summer here, the numbers slowly start to drop off because the food sources slowly start to drop off. Once that happens, you start to get to the winter time.
Because so many plants are only going to flower during the peak production period. Like it's fall. Stuff starts to die off.
Yeah, so we call it the honey flow. So there's another honey flow in this area around this time. You're starting to see plants blooming now. Yep. So the second honey flow is coming on.
Strange things like ragweed and all that stuff.
Yep, and that's ragweed. We have fields and fields of ragweed, which is a good source for the bees. They love it.
It's a bad source for my allergies, but it is beautiful for you.
Yeah, it is. So you'll actually, if we look inside the colonies, you'll see their numbers kind of jump up right now. Okay. But what happens is they never make it back to what they were in the spring. So colonies that don't have the resources and we use our guidelines. We do the Langstroth system, and we do 10 frames per box that you see out here. So anybody that's smaller than 10 frames, we'll typically pay a lot of attention to them. So between 6 and 10 is what we like to take in the winter. Okay. If a colony isn't that size, we'll take a sheet of newspaper, put it on top of one of the colonies, take another colony, put it on top of that newspaper. They'll take about 2 or 3 days to chew through the newspaper, exchange pheromones, and they'll consolidate into one colony.
They do it themselves.
The bees will do it themselves. Only thing I need to do is put a newspaper to separate them, put that other box on top, make sure I didn't leave too many bees behind, and make sure I do this either early in the morning or late in the evening so I don't leave out too many foragers. And then we'll consolidate into a whole colony, and they'll choose a queen. Whoever has the best pheromone, they'll choose.
Between the queens that are there's not like a showdown on the fight.
If they merge, they do that. If they merge too quickly and they don't decide, they can be one. But typically they'll have that. Okay. They'll have that decided by the time they merge, and then after that, you're good to go if you can build the population. But the startling thing that can be around this time if a population is low, they have Varroa mites. So we do treat our bees here, and I make sure I do that. Anybody who says don't treat bees must work magic. But with the Italian bees, which is typically the genetic line of what we have here, we treat.
So for folks who don't know what a Varroa mite is, as I understand it, it's kind of like if I had a tick the size of my fist. On my body, trying to suck the life force out of me.
Exactly.
I mean, we don't like a little bitty tiny tick.
Yeah, so just imagine having one.
Imagine something that big, and that's what they're doing to bees. So most of us don't see them on a bee, but in size comparison, it's really an important deal, right?
It is. And if you actually see Varroa mites, that means that the mite pressure is very high in your colony, and you need to treat it immediately. So bees are going to get them, but their genetic line and all the genetic stock dictates how they're affected. So I think over time we've been building genetic diversity here. Yeah. But because literally the strong ones survive and the weaker ones don't. So Varroa mites have become more manageable here at the farm. But starting out, the pressure was very, very high. I caught a swarm from somebody earlier in the year, and it was 40 feet up. I should have treated the hive when I got it. But I got out of the practice spring. But the mite pressure, I saw a mite on it then. And I was like, you know what? They'll take care of it. It swarmed. We thought they had a brood break. The pressure was going to go down. But those mites tore those bees up. And I tried to treat it, but it didn't knock the number down
Okay.
enough. And then I tried to treat again, and then they absconded. So that pressure was high, but everybody else is doing very well right now.
So how many times do you collect honey?
That's a great question. So this year I actually didn't collect honey. And the reason was because I felt like something was going on in the environment. So I felt we had a weird winter where it got really warm in January, where we had
And then
like
it got cold again.
then it got cold, and that killed off a lot of bees. And then here we had a really, really strong honey flow. But then me being from North Carolina, I'm like, you know what? We're gonna have a tough hurricane season because we haven't had hurricanes the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And I didn't pull honey because I wanted, just in case of an emergency, the bees have access to food. But I typically pull honey in June.
Okay.
I will do it next year if the environment doesn't go on. But I thought the bees were going to need it, so I left it for them this year. So I think that's helped us with our numbers this time of the year because they have food during
Yeah.
the dearth. So
Yeah.
I think we made a good decision.
Okay. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
So help me understand the queens, the workers, and the drones. That's what we got, right?
Yep. So I'll start with the drones. They have an important job, but it's not for the overall function of the colony directly. So their job is to impregnate virgin queens. So when a queen is born, she goes on a maiden flight. Drones create a cyclone. She'll fly through and try to mate around 11 times.
Mm-hmm.
And then she'll store, well, the drone mates with her, and then they explode and die. So if that doesn't happen, they'll last around 35, 38 days
The
in the colony.
drones are the males.
Yeah, the drones are the males, so they have one job to impregnate virgin queens and they die. And if they don't do that, if during the winter, the workers will actually kick them out and not allow them to come into the hive.
Okay.
They'll die off, and the queen will lay new ones. Your queen she's, I guess, the core of the colony in a sense, where she lays all the eggs, and she emits a pheromone that regulates the colony and keeps it in a normal flow.
Okay.
So her smell technically make sure that the colony regulates normally, and if anything goes wrong, the workers will actually get rid of her. So her job is to lay thousands of eggs a day and to emit a pheromone that regulates the colony, so it's normal. The workers do everything else. So they're going to forage, they're going to make honey, they're going to make wax, they're going to make propolis, they're going to take care of baby bees. They're going to
the workers are really the only ones people see very often.
Yep. So if
the
you're
drones
out,
just live in the hive
and then make cyclones,
and then they dead.
Yeah, then they die. So if you ever see a bee out, I'm 99.9999% sure that it's a worker bee because
Which is female.
Yeah, which is a female.
All the work is done by the women.
Work. Yep, the queen's a female and the workers are too. So they defend the colony. They make decisions. They take care of baby bees. They make royal jelly. They clean the cells. They clean the hive. They do every single thing that needs to be done to maintain the functioning of the colony.
And it's really incredibly organized, right?
It is.
So I know we build these hives in boxes to kind of keep it controlled where we want them to be instead of letting them just hang out on trees or in our houses or whatever, right?
Yep.
But there's like entry points. They know where they're going all the time.
They're a super organism, so they'll decide if this area, like they'll go communicate. They'll find an area to forage. They'll come back, do a dance, communicate. They'll be specific to a location. They orient themselves specifically to that location. They troubleshoot issues. Like it's very, like they're extremely. I think the one thing that amazes me is how clean bees are. Like they won't use the bathroom inside the hive in a normal, healthy colony.
Right.
So like you'll see bees use the bathroom sometime, but typically, like if they have a disease, but typically they will, like they're extremely clean and very highly organized. It's very like amazing to see.
Yeah. The whole idea of bees and pollinators is just so foreign to most of us, right? So most of us typically think of bees as like a hassle that's going to sting us.
Yeah.
Right? But really, they create this amazing piece of our food chain that without them, we lose 2/3 of our foods almost. I mean, like vegetables, the vast majority of vegetables need pollinators of some kind, and bees are the largest number. There's some flies.
Yeah.
There's butterflies.
Yeah, dragonflies, like
and all those kind of things.
But it's
But
bees.
honeybees are the most effective at most of it, right?
Yeah, and their colonies are so large. You have tens of thousands of potential pollinators, where you might have a bumblebee colony, which are more efficient, but there's only around 70 of them in a colony. So if you have acres upon acres of something, your honeybees are gonna take care of that very easily.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable, and it's not like you can train a bunch of monarchs to go to the plants you need to.
No, you can't.
I mean, they're not as focused on pollination because the process of pollination actually feeds their hive and does all the things they need, right?
Yep.
Whereas a lot of pollinators are doing it because it feeds them.
Yeah.
As an individual, not the collective.
Yeah,
is that right?
Yeah, and like something like a yellow jacket, they can eat other insects typically, so they can do both, but their pollination most likely is indirect from them hunting something or looking for something else. Bees are specifically going to flowers and nectar producing plants to feed their colony and to also grow it. So they're very intelligent in that manner.
Yeah. So you have Italian bees. There's a lot of African bees. There aren't American bees, other than some native like carpenter bees.
There's a native. There are native bees here,
but they're not honeybees.
They're not honeybees. There's a native. I might forget. It's really tiny, and mason bees. That's what it is. But there's
mason bees.
There are other bee. There's another bee here. And this is where I would ask an entomologist. How I know bee varieties outside of honeybees is how good I am with some of my plants. Where somebody's like, "What variety is that?" I'm like, "Oh, that's."
Let me go look at the bugs.
Let me go look at the tray it came out of, or look somewhere. But there, we've had Russian bees out here as well.
Okay.
And I really like those a lot. I'm probably going to do more of those. But once after the first generation, they start mating with the drones here.
Whatever you have here.
Yeah, is what you have. So I like the mason bees. I see them all the time in the tunnels.
Yep.
But they sting a little bit. It kind of hurts a little bit. But
I think mason bees are ones you can make. You can actually make bee houses for them by using like straw kind
little
of
straw
things.
and put them together. Yeah.
I'm gonna put the link to that in the podcast because we did it once with kids and it's a lot of fun. And you can kind of learn from it without having to have like full beehives and stuff like that.
You don't have to. It's not as much management with that. My goal for next year is to work with my oldest son because he really likes insects and to chronicle all the types of bees that are out here at the farm. There's so many. There's like a black bee, like the 2/3 of his body is black and it has an orange abdomen.
Okay.
And they come out around now and I see them all over pollinating everything.
Yeah.
I want to learn like those. There's a bee like right there. I want to learn like I've seen.
Well, and sometimes there are flies that look like bees. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, I want us to be able to document all of those.
Yeah.
And then look at what time of the year. Like I've seen European hornets out here.
Yeah.
They look like the Asian giant hornet. They're humongous, about the size of my thumb. Like they're
I don't want
humongous.
to have anything to do with those.
Yeah, I run when I see them. So if I see them, I take off. Like I'm not getting stung. I think like it could like kill me. So I want to learn like and document all the different types of pollinators, especially bees out here.
Yeah. It's one of those things that I think kids are so interested in. So are adults. I mean, more and more people are kind of going, well, maybe we could do that. Maybe we could have bees. Yeah. But it's hard work. It really, you said it takes more management. So tell me what kind of work it takes for you.
So those hives are basically, that's a whole other farm in itself. If I were not to have all the vegetables, that would consume a large amount of my time.
Okay.
It probably takes me, now I've been doing it for years, around 5 to 10 minutes to inspect each colony, but you have to then troubleshoot everything that you're doing. So that might require me bringing in, adding a frame to everybody. You get into so much. It takes so much time. We try to go in once a week, but that's very, once we have our full farming team, we can do that.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm probably getting in once every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I can give you an idea of what's going on in every colony, but it's a lot of work. It's a whole lot of work. It's a ton of work.
And you're trying to grow the vegetables and all those things too, right?
Yeah, and then things need to be planted, harvested like almost every day, and you have to prune things and trellis things, and it's a lot of work.
And then you have to mow the grass around it.
You have to mow the grass when your bush hog isn't broken and you just get it back 2 weeks ago. Like, it's a lot. Like, it's the management of a farm is a lot. So the weeds could be a whole other farm. So weed management is a whole other farm in itself. So it's like 3 farms in one: weeds, the vegetables, and the bees. It's a lot of work. It's a whole lot of work.
So you bought this land, so
Mhm.
it's your farm.
Yep.
You started it from kind of scratch.
Yep. It was all trees when we got it. So all the trees you see over here, that's what this area looked like.
Okay, so you've kind of cleared the land
Yeah,
to make
yeah.
it this much. Wow.
Yeah.
What kind of soils do you have?
We have the classification is Gab. I think it's Georgia Brownville or it's red clay.
Yeah.
That's the soil we have. So we've been integrating compost over the last 2 years to
Okay.
improve our soil. So the red clay is high in iron,
Yep.
and it gets really hard when it doesn't have water, and then really muddy when it does have water. The compost is its own mix where it's high in nutrients. It's nutrient dense as it's compost.
Yeah.
But it doesn't hold water very well.
Yeah.
So once we integrate that in, you get this beautiful bed that can grow a variety of products.
Okay.
It's a nice mix.
Getting there.
Yeah,
it's getting there.
That native soil mixed in with the compost makes a big difference and does very well with yields.
Yeah. So help me understand, who are the customers that come to Sankofa?
Woo. We have our own CSA. We sell to a food cooperative here. We sell to CSAs. I'm getting ready to start a farmer's market. We do a distribution in the area that has a mission to get people affected by food deserts. It distributes the food for us. Who else? We work with other farmers. If they are selling items and may need food that week, we sell to them. Restaurants we have done in the past. We'll restart that. We're doing microgreens now.
Okay.
So we'll restart that.
Yeah, once you get the greenhouses in, you can do
Oh, yeah.
a few different things too, right?
Yeah, to change the whole game for you. So we sell to just about anybody and everybody at this point.
Can I ask, you mentioned that there was somebody that helps get the food into food deserts. It's not by chance Ripe Revival, is it?
Oh, no, it's Table for NC. They're stationed out of Carborough.
Okay.
So
so it's closer by than Rocky Mount.
Yeah, it is. They send us numbers every week, and then we get as much food to them as we can.
Okay.
Without disrupting we have to keep our record keeping and yields. I'm weird in this way where I can kind of look at what we have.
Yeah.
I kind of know what we can meet.
Yeah.
Just by looking at it, just because we've been doing it for so long.
Once you've had enough years of looking at bell peppers or
Yeah.
or beets or whatever
you know.
it is. Yeah.
You know.
So it's September. You're getting ready to plant for the fall.
Mm-hmm.
What all do you plant in the fall?
So with us, we have the tunnels help us out a lot. So we can keep our tomatoes and peppers in all the way until first frost.
Nice.
And even with that, we can still double cover them to get them over the hump. Just to push them out for maybe a couple weeks. We'll be doing that. Right now, I'm getting carrots in. I'm getting a kale calibration mix in. We're getting celery in, beets, chard, kale, turnips, and that's about it.
That's a lot. I mean,
It is.
with the turnips, you get the turnip greens.
Yep, you do that. Those Hackerot turnips have a beautiful green on them in a nice bulb. So we're getting all those things in. We'll get some collards in.
Yep.
In about 2 weeks. They'll be from transplant, so
Yep.
they'll be ready by Thanksgiving.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll be good to go. We'll be good to go.
Already looking to that Thanksgiving meal.
Oh yeah, we'll have plenty of greens for Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Well, I love it. Did I forget to ask you something that you were just dying to tell me about?
I think we got everything. We know each other, so I think we can kind of cover stuff. So, I think we covered everything.
Well, I want to make sure everybody knows to look for you. I follow you the most on Instagram.
Yeah.
But do you have the other channels? Are you using TikTok?
I don't like TikTok.
Okay.
I probably should say as a business person, until we find a lane, I don't.
Until you find the right fit.
Yeah, I joke around in real life all the time, as people probably can hear during the podcast.
Yeah.
But as
how does that help your business on some of it?
Yeah, I don't think people want to see me joking around on TikTok.
But
it's
on
so
Instagram,
funny.
you do kind of here's what's happening and here's how to do something.
Yeah, I do how-tos on
Yeah.
Instagram. I think that help a lot of people because I feel like food is so important and the food system's changing a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like if somebody really needs information, they'll be pretty upset. They're going through my videos and I'm up there playing around, and they really need to get to something. So I wanted to make it like a resource hub.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. It's just not. It's just
It's
not
not
me.
you.
Yeah, it's not me at all. Which is
and the great thing about social media is you go where it fits you.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, and then if
and
it
you
doesn't,
find your people.
yeah, you find your demographic. And I'm learning.
You want to make a difference.
I want to make
not
a direct
just
difference.
A laugh.
Yeah, and it kind of goes away from the whole entertainment angle from us anyway, because I feel like
leadership development,
exactly,
building responsibility.
It goes directly into that. So I actually like LinkedIn the best.
I see a good bit there too.
I like LinkedIn the best. So LinkedIn, I don't tweet a lot because I just don't have the time to tweet when I'm out here looking at bees and like and looking at vegetables. I don't have time to be like, oh, they look pretty today. Like I don't have time for that. So, but we do have a pretty good following on Twitter. My son just recently went viral on Twitter for beekeeping, my 5-year-old. So he got
he's so cute.
Yeah, he got so much engagement.
He's so cute.
Like even Morgan Freeman ended up seeing the tweet, which is pretty funny. Like Morgan Freeman out of all people saw the tweet, so it's pretty interesting. Instagram, Sankofa Farms. That's the one I'm most likely to engage with people.
Yeah.
LinkedIn, I like LinkedIn a lot. Twitter, Sankofa Farms. So all of our social media handles are Sankofa Farms.
Yeah, I love it. All right, well, when you get the farmers markets all locked down, let us know where people in North Carolina can come find you.
I'll let you know. All
right. Thanks, everybody. This is Kamal Bell. You got to check him out. I'm telling you, you're going to learn something, and you are going to smile, even though he's not doing it just to educate you and stuff. You're going to have some fun. Yeah. If you really enjoy this episode, please share it with somebody else. Help people think about what's happening in the food system, thinking about some of the young folks that are trying to get it set back in the direction where we need it, like Kamal, which I really appreciate, because when people really put the boots to the ground and get the work done is when we can really make change happen. So thanks for being here. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.